Let us write a Python program to check whether an integer is a perfect square or not. We know that 64 is a perfect square because 8 into 8 equal to 64. Using the Python program, we need to check whether a number is a perfect square or not. The method is you find the square root of the number. Here square root of 64, you will get 8. You find the integer part of this number. Integer part of 8 is 8 itself. And if 8 into 8 equal to the original number, we can say that the original number is a perfect square. Otherwise, it's not a perfect square. So here 8 into 8 equal to 64. Hence 64 is a perfect square. One more example. We know that 123 is not a perfect square because 11 into 11 equal to 121. It's not 123. So 123 is not a perfect square. Using the program, we want to conclude that 123 is not a perfect square. What is the method? First, you find the square root of 123. You will get 11 point something. Next step, you find the integer part of 11 point something. You get 11. And here 11 into 11 equal to original number. Condition wrong. So 123 is not a perfect square. So in general, if you want to check whether P is a perfect square or not, the method is step 1. You find the square root of P. Store that in a variable S. Second step, you find the integer part of this number. So you find the integer part of S, store that in another variable I. If I into I equal to P, P is a perfect square, otherwise P is not a perfect square. So this is the method that we will make use of in program. So to do the program, first P must be entered from the keyboard. After that, you find the square root of P, store that in a variable S. You find the integer part of S, store that in a variable I. If I into I equal to P, P is a perfect square, otherwise P is not a perfect square. Now let me start the programming. So click on File, New, you will get a new file. Now you have to save the file, it's already saved. Start with a comment. This time let me go for a single line comment to check whether an integer is a perfect square or not. Anyway, multiple lines are there, so it's better to go for multi-line comment. Instead of two single line comment, it's better to use multi-line comment. Now first, P should be entered from the keyboard. P is an integer. Perfect square exists only for integers. So enter the number that you want to test. So this will not fit in this window. So if you want to continue in the next line, outside double quotes, you can make use of a backward slash, okay, and continue the statement. So meaning of backward slash, this statement continues here. Okay, so enter the number that you want to test. Test is a string, so that should be written inside double quotes. So P contains the number that you want to test. What is step 1? You should find the square root of P. Store that in a variable S. So how do you find square root of P? There is a function by the name square root, SQRT, and within bracket you can write P. But SQRT is present in the math module. When you install the Python software, by default you will not get this. It is inside the math module, so it should be called as math.square-root. So certainly you need to import math module. So you can write import math. Okay, so don't study this by heart. Depending on the need, you can import the modules. So math.square-root of P will return square root of P that you can store in a variable S. Now you find the integer part of s. So in order to find the integer part of s, there is a function by the name truncate. Okay, so truncate will remove the decimal points, whatever is there after dot, that is truncated, that is removed. So truncate s. So this returns the integer part of s that you can store in another variable I. Now truncate is also present in the math module, so it should be called as math.truncate. Now, if I into I, here I told you, if I into I equal to P, meaning P is a perfect square, otherwise P is not a perfect square. So I am going to write the condition if I into I equal to P, P is a perfect square. So you can write print P in outside double quotes, P is a perfect square. Otherwise, you can write P is not a perfect square. So here you can write print P outside double quotes. Only then the value of the variable will appear. P is not a perfect square. Save the file, Control S, run the program. So you know 121 is a perfect square. Yes, 121 is a perfect square. Now again run the program. We know that 89, it's not a perfect square. 89 is not a perfect square. So this is how you check whether a number is a perfect square or not. So please understand the logic. The logic is very important. How did you check whether a number is a perfect square? First, P should be entered from the keyboard. Find the square root of P. Store that in a variable S. Okay. Now find the integer part of S. Store that in a variable I. If I into I equal to P, P is a perfect square. Otherwise, P is not a perfect square. Now you can do this program independently in the computer. Study the program properly by doing it in the computer, because after some time we will modify this program so that it generates all the perfect squares between a lower bound and an upper bound. So the same piece of code we will use again. So study it properly by doing it in the computer.